So everyone, this is the game that got me to S rank, and I had a ton of ladder anxiety doing this climb. I'm not really a big ladder grinder. I usually get to S rank, but it's not something I've ever really worried about. But this month I was trying to get there pretty quickly. It's 10 days into the season, and I really gave it a good effort. And so this game, going into the battle for S rank, playing in Songhai, which this deck has some tools against, but I don't think is particularly strong against, just because efficient answers line up, line up well against their threats, but their threats cost so little mana that we're basically just trading card for card and mana for mana, which doesn't allow us to gain a huge advantage. And our opponent can churn out, when they're playing Riva at least, they can churn out an unlimited supply of Hot Seekers, which we don't have really great answers for, that don't cost us a card. So we need to figure out how to beat them before those the Hot Seekers become a huge issue. Now right here I'm thinking about where to play the Hearth Sister, but it doesn't actually matter because I'm going to just kill the Key Beholder, and Hearth Sister is going to end up wherever the Key Beholder is, so that placement is not relevant at all, has literally zero effect on the game, but nonetheless. I choose not to use my Chromatic Holds to kill this Primus Fist, because although we do want to save damage to our face, the Primus Fist can't trade with our minion at all. It's not in a position to do that. If our opponent's general wants to go trade for a minion, that's fine. And using a Chromatic Hold, which is such a great answer to so many Songhai minions in this situation, is just not something that I think is worth the 2 life points. So, we're going to hold on to it. We're going to hope to get off a good Dancing Blades opportunity. If we're able to clear out the Primus Fist with an attack and then play a nice Dancing Blades, we could really set up a really good board state. And our opponent helps us out a little bit by playing a minion up near the Primus Fist. Unfortunately, it's a Primus Shieldmaster, which is very difficult to answer for our deck right now. So we have a situation where we don't really know what to toss back, because we have all good cards in our hand, but unfortunately none of them answer this Primus Fist effect, or Primus Shieldmaster effectively. So, I'm going to come down and develop this Crystal Wisp. Even though you don't usually need to accelerate this late in the game, I don't think it would hurt right now, because I think we want to try to pull a little bit ahead on tempo so we can outpace these Hot Seekers. And I'm able to turn it into a Fox and then just kill the Hot Seeker, which I don't think my opponent was expecting. I don't think they were expecting me to have an immediate answer to the Provoke minion. Although there wasn't a safe place for them to play the Hot Seeker, so they may have just had to, pick the best spot they could. And my opponent might be deciding if they want to kill this Crystal Wisp and accelerate us, or not kill it and allow it to hit this Fox and save us 3 damage on it, it trying to attack next turn. I think Crystal Wisp is a card that gives our opponent a lot of tough decisions, so that's always a good thing to have in your cards, is cards that really put your opponent to the test and make them try to, play the game outside of their comfort zone. My opponent plays a Lantern Fox and immediately attacks me with it, using Inner Focus, which gives them a Phoenix Fire, which I believe they immediately fire off. So I'm down to 11. And I believe here I actually misplay this sequence. What I obviously want to do is not give them another... Oh no, I think I'm playing this fine. I want to not give them another... What's it called? Phoenix Fire, excuse me. I want to not give them another Phoenix Fire. That's priority number 1. Now I play the... It seems a little weird to not back up and block off the enemy general's access to us, but if my opponent's allowed to safely develop a Hot Seeker, that's a lot bigger danger to us than getting attacked by the enemy general. So in this situation, I want to play that Healing Mystic behind the enemy to prevent them from safely developing the Hot Seeker, because that's a game, potentially game-winning threat for my opponent. So that's why we choose to play the Healing Mystic behind. And, my opponent has a life point advantage and a card advantage, and because we only have a Healing Mystic on the board, probably a tempo advantage. So this is not a game that's looking good for us. And here I believe is a situation where I mess up, because what I want to do is, I don't believe I have an answer to this panda right here, but I could have Chromatic Colded this and then played the Warbird, killing it off, and then developed my Dancing Blades. And you see that extra mana from the crystals actually comes into play pretty big here, because it would have given me such a great answer to this whole thing. Instead, I trade in the Chromatic Hold and use the Hailstone Prison, because you really can't leave minions on the board for too long, with this deck. So I'm forced to Hailstone Prison it. I don't believe it comes back down, so the Chromatic Hold and Hailstone Prison were effectively the same, but it's definitely a mistake that I made. If I was going to just replace the Chromatic Hold, I guess the answer is that Chromatic Hold is now in my deck, that I can draw it, but I believe that what I made was just a play mistake. So I have, 8 power on the board, and I'm at 11 life, which isn't huge, but isn't as vulnerable to burst right now. My opponent could hit me and then try to finish me off next turn with a Spiral Technique, if I wasn't able to, plus General Attack, if I wasn't able to block them off. So I would have to try to find an answer to that, and I don't think I'm going to survive more than 2 or 3 turns, so I have to try to move rather quickly towards killing the enemy. Grandmaster Zendro is really scary, because he immediately basically does 4 damage to my face, and he makes it so I can't move away from the enemy general. So this is the point where I'm pretty sure I'm about to get killed. I'm down to 5 life, and I'm probably going down to 3 on the next turn from the general attack. And I have to use a Hailstone Prison on a Hot Seeker, because otherwise there are a ton of cards that are lethal. Basically, Killing Edge is the one I'm worried about, though. I don't want to give them any additional outs. So, right now you can see I'm going pretty aggro. And I'm dead to Phoenix Fire. I'm dead to some kind of Inner Focus Killing Edge combo. I'm dead to another Zendo. I'm dead to so many things. But you have to play to your outs and just hope your opponent doesn't have it. And of course, spoiler is that this is the game that got me to S rank, so I do end up pulling this one out. Blistering Scorn is a card that I really wasn't expecting out of a Songhai deck, but Songhai's gotten a lot slower. They've really just slowed down into a more controlling deck. They have a ton of removal, and it's a deck that just plays really efficient threats, and then it can really use some mid-game, power cards to slow the game down and just make those threats a source of inevitability rather than an aggressive strategy. So, my opponent decides to Bear Seal my Delotus, because they couldn't get out of attack range from it, and taking 5 damage was pretty threatening, especially with the Dancing Blades also on the board. And then just develop the Hot Seeker. So I'm relatively sure that I'm dead next turn. So I'm able to replace into Aspect of the Fox, and I don't immediately see it, but I can transform my little Pando into a Fox that does 3 damage and finish my opponent off. So that was a really tough matchup. Songhai's really tough, and I got really lucky. But this is the game that got me to S rank. I loved playing this deck. I got to play with so many cool tech cards and really adjust the play to the situation. It's a ton of fun. I hope people try it out and let me know what they think. Thank you for watching. I'll have a written guide up on the website. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much.